Hello and welcome to Forum on Safety. My name is Peter Lattanzio. I'm the Chief of the Town of Colonie Department of Fire Services. And my guest today, for the second time, is Fire Protection Specialist Bill McGovern from the State of New York Office of Fire Prevention and Control and his canine partner Braith. And they're here to, as we talked last time, to do part two of this show and to talk about the Canine Accelerant detection dogs that the state has. Bill, welcome.
Pete, thanks for having me back.
Again.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, well, you know, you did it right the first time, so we brought you back for part two.
Always a positive note. Always a positive note. Here's Braith Stern here.
This time I'd like to talk to you specifically about the dogs and how the whole dog program works and just the intricacies of using the dogs.
Great.
And I see he's already up here checking things out with you.
Yeah, he knows we're live here.
Braith is a chocolate lab, correct?
Braith is a 2.5-year-old chocolate Labrador. He was donated to our program from an individual down in the Binghamton area. I was fortunate enough to be partnered up with him, and we went through training back in March of last year. We graduated and were certified in May of last year, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, but he's my little partner here.
Now, why a lab? And I know being involved with you guys over the years, you tend to go to the labs.
We do. Our program uses a praise and play methodology for the canines, and basically it's a game for them. And we use the labs because of their play drive, because they have the longer snout. They have more olfactory receptors and the play drive. Like I said, they are retrievers by nature. They're out looking for things. They enjoy play. So they try to pick retrievers. We've had chocolate labs before. We've had black labs. We still have a couple black labs. And even golden retrievers that a lot of people are used to for their pets. They have a great temperament and the great play drive. So,
well, this dog is part of your family too.
He is.
I mean, this dog is with you 24/7. Right?
That is correct. Braith is with me. We use a single handler discipline where Braith is my partner and only my partner. And he stays with me, as you said, 24 hours a day. He comes home. He's a part of the family. My wife is a little, she'll have different opinions, but he stays with us. He's our fourth child, basically.
And I guess that's important because, again, you do have kids in the house, and the dog has got to fit in and has got to be a good family pet also.
Very much so. And that's, I was actually assigned Braith, or he was given to me in December of 2006 for that acclimation. At the time, my oldest son was 8 months old. He's now 2, and I have a 6-month-old son as well. And getting the canine used to the kids and vice versa was a big part of the training. So I had a few months orientation period before we started actual training to make sure that was going to fit.
When you say the dog is given to the state for this program, right. Not every dog is going to fit the bill for this type of
that is correct, Pete. Our lead trainer is Investigator Michael Knowlton, who is assigned to our Syracuse office. He was assigned to the Fire Academy for years, and just got assigned a little closer to home. But he goes out and actually screens the canines and looks for those things that we talked about. He interviews them. Yeah, he can talk dog. He actually goes and makes sure that the dog will fit the bill, for lack of a better phrase, and has the characteristics that we look for as far as temperament and play drive and so forth. And there have been canines that have started through the program and for whatever reason just didn't make the cut even a week or two into the training session, and Mike had to go out and acquire another canine and partner that canine up with the handler. So it's an ongoing evolutionary process, really, is getting to know the the dog and the dog getting to know the handler.
And I think that's a big part of it. There's got to be that relationship between you and the dog.
That's very much so. We have our program, our training program, Canine Accelerant Detection Training Program, is an 8-week program. 300 hours of, actually over 300 hours of training held in a residential setting at the New York State Fire Academy that I talked about last week, or yeah, last time on the show. And it's an 8-week program where we teach the canine how to do its job, his or her job, and we teach the handlers how to read their canines. And get to know them, and the single handler methodology or single handler concept that I spoke about earlier enforces that I am with Braith all the time, and Braith is used to me, and I can read certain actions that he has that somebody else may not pick up on if they're not with him as much. So,
when you kind of talk about training a little bit, I mean, dogs have a very good olfactory sense. So, we've used dogs for years for looking for missing people. I mean, how many people use retrievers when they go hunting, or they use, coon hounds, or they've got beagles that use for hunting. So dogs have that natural sense for smelling.
For smell.
But you take in this training period, how do you enhance that to get them to not chase after a squirrel or the neighborhood cat?
that doesn't always work so well. It is one of those things. It's as much as we teach each canine team to identify certain common accelerants that may be used by a bad guy to light a fire, we also have to train them in general obedience, in environmental conditioning, and as much to discriminate naturally occurring scents, stuff that you would expect to find at a fire scene, from those that we want them to indicate on. So, I mean, we go through that whole week, or whole 8-week training period. We're working on obedience training. We're working on, like I said, environmental training, such things as exposure to large crowds, exposure to large bodies of water. Our canine training program has the canine and their partner go up in a helicopter on a boat, so that they're used to so that the time that they get called out and have to do that, it's not the first time that the dog's exposed to that.
And you have been in situations where the only way you can get to this investigation is by boat. Or I know, again, we mentioned this the last time, that some of you guys have been flown down to New York City on helicopters to do things.
So and we need to assure that once the canine comes out of that situation, that they're going to be able to work, and that's part of the training process, is the credibility of the team, because after exposed to this, they were still able to find the hide in training, in a training evolution. It's going to work in a normal or a fire emergency atmosphere.
You kind of mentioned that you get them acclimated to crowds. You use that, number one, because a lot of times at fire scenes there are a large number of crowds, but you also use that to your advantage too, because don't you have the ability to let the dog work in the crowd? Sometimes?
It has been done in the past, yeah. There are a lot of issues that surround that. However, as you well know, a lot of times the bad guy that sets the fire likes to stay around and watch. And if they have used an accelerant to light the fire, there may be remains of that accelerant or evidence of that accelerant on their person. So the dogs have worked the crowd in the past, and identify ignitable liquids or an accelerant on a potential suspect. Exactly. So, there are all kinds of different applications that we use the dog for. And one of the things I think that we should let people know, Pete, is that as much as we use the dogs to identify where there is an accelerant or an ignitable liquid used, it's up to us as an investigator to identify whether that is a normally occurring liquid or whether it's, shouldn't be there. I mean, not too many people store their gasoline in their dresser drawers. Yeah. But however, you know, it wouldn't be unusual to find, say, lighter fluid in a desk drawer or something to that effect, and we have to assess that. At the same time, we can use the canine to eliminate the potential use of an accelerant. To run, if the canine does not indicate, that would tell us as an investigator that no accelerants were used there, and may help corroborate the findings that we have an accidental fire. So it's used either way. The canine is simply just that, a tool for the fire investigator to use to help them with their job.
I always kind of look at fire investigations as a big puzzle, as a jigsaw puzzle. And the more pieces of that puzzle you can put together, the clearer the picture becomes. And again, the dog is a great tool, a great resource to help us fit some of those puzzle pieces together.
Right.
And I hope people understand that we don't bring the dog in and the dog maybe gives an indication and it's automatically an arson fire and we're going to go out and arrest somebody.
Right.
It's much more involved than that. The dog's indicating because there's something there. Like you just said, it could be something naturally occurring in the house or in that building, or it could have been something that was introduced that shouldn't be there. Right. But it goes back to us as investigators
to figure that part out.
To connect those dots.
Yeah, scratch our heads and say
it's, you know, and you've been there too. It's amazing. You went to some folks' homes and everybody lives their life a little bit differently, and what you and I would find kind of strange to find in a house is very normal for some of those folks. So it does take some investigation, and
that's true. Being from Schoharie County myself, I know that, you know, there's some different people out there. But
well, I think that, you know, just the simple fact now that we're in an energy crisis again. People are looking for alternate means, and are we going to see the big use of kerosene heaters again back in homes? Which again, there's a source right back in the house.
Potentially, exactly. Yeah. That, just because, and there's a perfect example. A lot of times in the wintertime, people use portable heating appliances, the kerosene fueled heaters or stuff like that. If they had one of those appliances in their house and may have had an accidental fire start from something else, Braith would indicate on that kerosene because that's what he's been trained to. Now, it's up to us to figure that that was there for a legitimate purpose. So,
walk me through a call out for you guys, and I'll use myself as an example. We have a fire in the town of Colonie. Something doesn't seem quite right to me. I feel that, again, this would be a benefit for me to have you guys come in. So I make that phone call.
Exactly. As I mentioned in the last program, Pete, we are a resource for the locals, or for the municipal agencies and the counties to enhance their resources. And if at your request, the request of the fire chief or the fire coordinator or whoever from that municipal agency or governmental agency, we would get called out, and an individual investigator with their canine partner would be assigned and respond down, get an overview of the incident as to that point, and see where would be best to run the dog. Sometimes it may be through the entire structure. Sometimes it may be limited to a particular room in the structure, depending upon fire damage and everything that we could talk about in the fire investigation segment of Focus on Safety, but that'd be a whole nother half hour. However, we would assess the building, again, for the safety of Braith, or as my partner, or Emma, or any of the other canines that are out there. And then once we've assured that the dog's going to be safe as well as the investigator, there's a couple things that we prepare Braith or any of the canines for. It's like I said, it is a game. We kind of try to pump them up a little bit, ready to go to work, and he just looked up at me. He's and that signals to him that we might be, it's time for him to work, but I mean, to him it's play.
And I've seen that. I've watched you guys come out, and the dog is a dog. He's just kind of looking around, and all of a sudden that you start to, the way you talk to that dog and your mannerisms, that dog immediately pays attention and says, okay, playtime's over, and
Yeah.
now I know I get to go, I got to go
This
do
is,
something. And
this is something I need to do, and we have a harness that we put on the dog itself. It gives us a couple things. It signals to the dog again that it is time to go to work. It's time to get serious. It's time we're going to do something here, and it also for us it gives us a handle on a dog, literally, for the canine safety. We want to make sure that if he does get or she gets too close to an unstable area, we'll be able to pull them back and handle them without the harness. They don't have that, so that signals to them. And then we also have a command. And in some of the video footage later on, you'll hear me.
well, we'll talk about that one video. We'll run that one now.
Sure.
And I guess I was surprised the first time that I worked with you guys. The handler came out, and all of a sudden you hear this high-pitched talk, and it's like, what happened to him? Why is he talking like that?
Exactly.
And it kind of catches your attention when you're not used to it.
It's different, and people sometimes make fun of us, with the.
Who would make fun of you?
I know. You find that hard to believe, but in this first video here, you'll kind of see right from me placing the ignitable liquid in this video. It happened to be alcohol. I put a few drops on a piece of paper in the center of a burn pod that we have at our Fire Academy burn complex. This is a brand new state-of-the-art facility that the office just built and dedicated in October. In the pod there, you'll see it had been burned previously. It was a blank area at the time that I did the search with Braith, but you'll see me drop some alcohol.
And you're literally talking just a few drops out of an eyedropper.
Exactly. I think I missed the first couple that spilled out of my dropper here. We usually don't work on any more than like 5 drops of alcohol or 5 drops of any ignitable liquid. I think you'll see maybe seven drops in this video, and then it will cut to me bringing Braith up to the edge of the pod, and I will let him off lead, which is his leash basically. And
which is another good point. You do not guide these dogs.
No.
As a handler, you're not specifically guiding him to a particular part of the room where the fire caught.
No,
you let the dog go
in some instances, we prefer to go with an off-lead approach where the dog is free to roam on their own. It allows them to cover a larger area in a shorter time because they're following their nose. They're finding the vapors and working their way back to where those vapors are the strongest. And as you see, I'll give Braith the command as I come up, and basically what I'm saying is find the cause. But as you said, it's in a high-pitched voice. That signals to him it's time to go to work. Right. And but it gets him pumped up. The high-pitched voice gets him pumped up, and Braith will go through the pod area, and you'll see him work his way back. He doesn't find it right away. He does discriminate. He goes back and looks back and forth and checks some other things, some other areas out, and then comes back to the center of the pod area. And we'll show you the video here now.
And as you can see, what I noticed was the dog went right to the back of the pod, but the front of the pod's wide open. So the air currents are naturally blowing that odor to the rear, and he's
Exactly.
working off
He's
of that.
working off of those. He's grabbing or he's sensing where the most vapors are, and again, he comes back and forth and kind of actually follows what we refer to as the vapor cone, and back to its point source. And at the center of the pod here, you will see him sit,
Right.
and that's his indication.
And that's the other thing that you teach these dogs is you don't want them to start digging. You don't want evidence disturbed. They got the potential to cut their paws, their pads. So you want them to sit. It's a very passive indication.
Exactly, and that is exactly what it's referred to as a passive response, where a lot of police dogs will scratch if they're searching for drugs. Bomb dogs don't, again, very much for an obvious
for
reason.
that short career.
Yeah, exactly. But we don't want the canines, like you said, Pete, there's a lot of debris that could potentially injure their paws or cut their pads on their paws, or they could move the sample or the ignitable liquid if they scratch. So we teach them, and again, the 8 weeks of training is for me as a handler or any one of the other handlers to watch the canine's nose, and the last place his or her nose was when they sit is where that best sample site is. And as you can see, and as you saw in the video, when his nose was on the spot, he sat right down.
Right there, and he looks at you. It's like, okay, I did my job. I found it.
And then his paycheck, his reward is to play tug of war. You'll see that you saw the towel come in, and he got that. That's what it's all about for him. When he finds the vapors, or when he finds the location of that ignitable liquid, he sits and he gets rewarded. He gets to play tug of war, and you saw him pulling me around out in the field there at the Fire Academy. And that's pretty much what we do. Now, as a matter of fact, I know just not too long ago, I was called here in the town of Colonie by Ben Stevens from your office, and that was a case where they knew it was an accelerated fire. They knew that someone had poured gasoline and lit the fire. It was a witnessed event. But to corroborate the case and bolster the case, they wanted a best sample location. So we came out, Braith and I came out and actually searched that area and came up with 4 different locations where it would be best to sample from. Like Ben and Investigator DiGiulio said that day, they could have taken 300 samples from all around the area and still not came up with an ignitable liquid, a positive lab sample or confirmation. However, we had Braith go out and he told us where to take the samples, basically.
Now, folks may have watched you do that demonstration where you put those drips onto the floor, but people are saying, well, what's the big deal? Because it didn't burn.
Right.
Once that liquid is put into the building, if it's introduced there purposely to ignite the fire, it's going to be ignited and it's going to burn. There's still going to be residue there, or there's still going to be vapors given off.
Exactly. A lot of it may be consumed by the fire, but there's still, and it's been proven. We've done case studies with the chemists from the forensic labs where the canine indicated that actually the chemists poured the ignitable liquid. We burned the room out, and they collected, the dogs indicated, the chemists themselves collected their samples and took it back to the lab and tested on their apparatus at the lab and couldn't find it, but the dog did. So again, it's as much as you would think everything is consumed, there still remains there evidence left.
It's been amazing to me when we've worked with you guys on these fires, and again, the demonstration the 2 demonstration videotapes that folks are watching, they're relatively a pristine fire scene. There's not a lot of other materials, but we've been in houses or in buildings where there's been a fire and there's food consumed or there's food damaged. We've had dead bodies inside of buildings. There's all these different odors and these different scents that are being given off that you would think that would distract the dog. yet the dogs are very focused in on what they're doing, and
right.
they pinpoint what we're looking for.
It is. It's very rewarding, I guess, for me as a handler, and I can speak, I think, for any of the handlers, that your dog does focus that well. You know, they are still dogs, and you know, they will still kind of tend to wander, but that's where we have to bring them back and focus them. Right. Food is a big distractor. My Braith just loves to eat, just like I do, and he will tend to stray towards food quite often, but we bring him back and get him focused, and he's made me look good, and that's not an easy task. No, it's been a very rewarding just 1.5 years actually with Braith, almost 2 years now, and we've had a couple, or actually several very unique cases, and he's just like I said, he's a great partner to have, and very reliable. So.
Well, I know you've saved the municipalities countless hours, and one that comes to mind wasn't one that we were involved with, but it happened in a neighboring community in Schenectady. And I think this was shortly after your program started, and they had a fire down in downtown Schenectady that basically consumed almost a block long series of buildings, and it was in the middle of wintertime, and the amount of water that was put into the fire to put the fire out, there was several feet of ice actually inside this building. And as investigators, we've got to figure out where this fire started and what caused it. And you know, the dogs were brought in, and that dog, I think it was Investigator Rogozinski and his dog Hershey, that dog worked that fire and went in and pinpointed in a very short amount of time where it appeared that fire where some ignitable liquids were put in through several feet of ice.
Yeah, and that, again, one of the things, like I spoke with, and you just mentioned briefly, is all the distractors. They're at a fire scene, wherever it be, food, the asphalt shingles from the roof. We teach the dogs to ignore those distractors as much as they're looking for the ignitable liquid itself. A frozen sample is one of the things we train on, where a burned piece of wood with an ignitable liquid on it is frozen in a large chunk of ice, and the dogs are able to locate that, and it's very it's amazing. It really is.
I know in that case that saved those investigators many long hours of shoveling and chiseling through ice to try and determine where that fire started. And again, that wasn't just because the dog indicated wasn't the final thing, but it definitely helped those guys focus in on where the fire originated. They were pretty comfortable where it started, but that helped them really identify the cause in that. So their dogs are a tremendous really asset.
One last video that you want to talk about?
Yeah, that other video.
In this one, you'll see we bring, this is actually, again, a room that was set up in our arson training building, and you'll see some furniture in there. This was kerosene that was placed on the arm, or near the arm of the couch. You'll see me bring Braith up to the steps, and again, let him off lead. You'll hear the command. He'll go in the room, and you'll see him, he actually goes up by the couch, by where the ignitable liquid was placed, and then comes off of it a little bit, and that's what we refer to as discriminating. He was pretty sure that it was there, but just came back out and made his way back to the exact same spot. And you'll see his nose on the end of the arm of the sofa there, and he'll sit, and then he gets his reward. He gets to play tug of war with the towel, and he has fun.
I'm just wondering who's having more fun, you or the dog?
I'll tell you, he pulls me around some days. I knew I was out of shape, Pete, and then I started canine training, and I realized just how out of shape I was. Braith is he keeps me fit. Come here, buddy.
I have worked with dogs for years. I used to belong to Rensselaer County Search and Rescue, who you know, primarily look for missing folks with bloodhounds, and then you guys started in with the Canine Detection Accelerant dogs, and you know, you get a good dog and a good handler, it's amazing what you can find and how things work. And again, I think it's a real asset to New York State. Your office is a great asset to the state. And I'm going to be selfish again here to the town of Colonie. It's been a tremendous benefit to us, and you know, we look forward to keeping that relationship with you guys. So
oh, definitely. And like I said, I appreciate the opportunity to come and talk, and hopefully some of the people in the town have you know, learned a little bit more about the program and what we do, and we'll hopefully see them around sometime.
Well, the one nice thing about the dogs too is they're unbiased. You know, they
are,
can't be persuaded or misled by anybody or anything.
No, he is.
So they're pretty honest indicator.
He's here unconditionally. All he asks for is some food on occasion. You know, and he'd like more than he gets. But okay, come here and up. You want to say hi? Say hi to everybody. Come here. There you go.
Well, I want to thank both you and Braith for coming in again.
Okay.
And again, tremendous service that's
yeah.
that's made available to the residents of the town of Colonie and all across the residents of the state of New York. So on behalf of us, again, thank you very much for your participation.
Pete, again, thank you very much. It's the pleasure's been mine. And if I can get Braith to look, say come on, say hi. Come here, say hi. Yeah. There you go. Okay.
That that'll wrap up this session of Forum on Safety. If you have any feedback, questions, or comments, please feel free to give us a line, drop us a line, and we look forward to seeing you again in the very near future. Thanks.